Hey Outlanders, we found the missing pages of our story. Thank you to Anozo for sending them in. Let's see how our scary story ends. Hearing her words, "You shouldn't be here," and the sound of a shotgun loading, he jumped towards the hatch. The sharp feeling of pain, as if he was stabbed with multiple needles, passed through his body from the back as the pellets dug deep into his clothes and flesh. He managed to open the hatch just before getting his back shredded, only for him to tumble down the hole due to the wounds he sustained now and before. Laying on the ground, feeling the bitter and unpleasant taste of blood and metal in his mouth, he heard the woman, her face shrouded and hidden in the darkness, come down the hatch. Unable to move, he couldn't help but be dragged away through a tunnel for what felt like days. He finally felt himself propped up on a table, still unable to move due to his injuries. The woman, now in a dim light, was wearing dark glasses, a face mask, and an apron covered in so much dried blood and pus that the apron would probably stand up on its own if it was taken off. She took out some rusty, blunt cutting tools: scissors, scalpels, tweezers, blades, wire, ronger. And worst of all, something that looked like an electrosurgery device, the Bovie, but was made to look a lot more sadistic. For the next few minutes, he felt nothing but mind-breaking pain. He gave out muffled screams just to be silenced. He could smell the scent of burning flesh, and could feel why the smell of burnt flesh was in the air. In the middle of the process, he heard a crying of child, and the woman walked away. For the first time, he was alone with his thoughts. In pain, yet with no one causing it, he stared at the ceiling, helpless and broken. But he didn't have to despair over his fate for long. Quickly, the woman came back and the process began again. Flesh, muscle, and bone were being cut and sawn off. New parts were placed on his body, and if other parts of his body were getting in the way, they too were cut off. Soon a device was placed on his head and a mask on his face. A jolt of electricity surged through him, which gave him energy and endurance to get through the pain and prompted him to get up and go. Walking through the same tunnel he was dragged through into this hell, he climbed out of the hatch and walked out of the abandoned shack. With a gun in hand, unable to stop due to the device on his head and the electricity causing his muscles to work on their own, he walked, killing anybody and gathering whatever the cruel and ruthless woman desired, without putting herself at risk, although at the cost of the poor man's body and remaining sanity. Well, now we know why you shouldn't go to the abandoned shack alone. Thank you to everyone who sent in their entries for our contest. You can expect more in the future. Until then, though, we'll see you in the Outlands.